He was the richest man who ever lived, a king so wealthy that his generosity shook the world economy. But behind the gold and the glory, his empire faced decline and chaos. This is the true story of Mansa Musa, the legend of wealth, power, and the dangerous price of excess. Our story begins in the 14th century in the Kingdom of Mali, a vast empire nestled in West Africa, rich in gold and brimming with promise. At its heart was the legendary city of Niani, a bustling hub of trade that drew merchants from across the known world. Gold, ivory, salt, kola nuts, and dyed fabrics flowed through its markets, making it one of the wealthiest cities of its time. But more precious than any commodity was the wisdom and ambition of its ruler, Mansa Musa. Upon ascending the throne at age 26, Mansa continued the tradition of his predecessors, expanding the borders of Mali and collecting immense wealth in the process. The kingdom thrived under his rule, becoming a beacon of learning and culture in a world that had yet to see its likes. Great universities flourished, attracting scholars from as far away as North Africa and the Middle East. Artists found patronage and created breathtaking works that celebrated the glory of the Mali Empire. And the common people enjoyed a prosperity that had never been seen before. But amidst this opulence, a storm was brewing. Musa's insatiable desire for more led him to make a fateful decision that would change history forever. As his empire grew, so did his obsession with gold, which he believed would bring him immortality. Yet, despite having amassed more gold than anyone in history, Mansa was never satisfied. Some say his hunger for gold knew no bounds, while others claim he was influenced by tales of the mythical city of gold, El Dorado. Whatever the reason, Mansa set his sights on acquiring even more gold, setting in motion a chain of events that would end up bankrolling an entire nation. In 1324, Mansa embarked on a pilgrimage to the city of Mecca, over 4,000 miles away. The journey, undertaken with a massive convoy that some sources say numbered around 60,000 men, was fraught with danger. But Mansa's determination was unwavering. Upon his return, he decided to embark on a series of military campaigns to secure the trade routes to the gold mines of the region. But these expeditions proved to be costly, draining the royal coffers, so Mansa turned to what he knew best, collecting even more gold. In 1325, he declared all gold in Mali to be the property of the king, essentially nationalizing the gold trade. Now, technically, this wasn't the first time this had happened. In fact, the Roman Emperor Nero had done the same thing back in the 1st century, when he devalued silver coinage by mixing it with base metals, effectively confiscating the wealth of his subjects and centralizing it in his own hands. However, Mansa's approach was different. While Nero had used deception to take his people's wealth, Mansa's actions were more akin to eminent domain, where the government seizes private property for public use. Except instead of building roads or schools with the seized property, Mansa used it to fund his lavish lifestyle. Now, normally, this wouldn't have been a problem if Mansa had stopped there, but he didn't. You see, having taken control of all gold in Mali, Mansa set his sights on controlling the entire gold trade in Africa. To achieve this, he waged war against neighboring kingdoms, conquering vast territories and seizing their gold reserves. But as the saying goes, more gold means more problems. As the influx of gold continued, its value plummeted. In fact, between 1324 and 1325, the price of gold fell by almost 20%. And to make matters worse, the oversupply of gold disrupted the economies of neighboring kingdoms, throwing the entire region into chaos. Now, you might be wondering, how could one man cause so much damage? Well, it all comes down to supply and demand. When Mansa took over the gold trade in Mali, he inherited a system that had been carefully balanced over many years, but his sudden seizure of gold mines and his subsequent wars to conquer more gold resulted in a massive surplus of gold hitting the market. This oversupply led to a rapid devaluation of the precious metal, which had ripple effects throughout the region's economies. For instance, gold was not just a commodity in this region, but also a crucial element of social and political structures. Many rulers and elites used their gold reserves to maintain their power and influence. For example, in the Kingdom of Songhai, gold played a vital role in trade networks that stretched across the Sahara Desert to North Africa. It was used to purchase salt, which was highly valued in the arid regions of the north. The influx of cheap gold from Mali disrupted these trade networks, destabilizing the economies of the Songhai and other kingdoms that relied on similar trade patterns. But the impact went beyond just trade. The sudden drop in gold's value had profound implications for the everyday lives of people. In Mali, for instance, the currency was directly linked to the value of gold. As the value of gold plummeted, so did the purchasing power of the people. What used to be enough to buy a house could suddenly barely afford a loaf of bread. This drastic change in wealth had devastating consequences. People who had once enjoyed relative prosperity found themselves struggling to survive. Farmers couldn't afford the tools they needed to plant crops, and families couldn't afford the basic goods they required for survival. The once vibrant economy of Mali ground to a halt, plunging the kingdom into turmoil. Meanwhile, Mansa, oblivious to the chaos he had unleashed, continued his reign of gold. He lavished gold on his court, built magnificent palaces, and hosted extravagant feasts. He even gifted vast amounts of gold to religious leaders and scholars, hoping to buy his way into paradise. But as the saying goes, you can't buy your way out of trouble. In 1337, after 10 years of relentless expansion, Mansa's empire reached its zenith, stretching from the Atlantic coast to the North Sea, and from the Sahara Desert to the heart of Africa. He had conquered rival kingdoms, amassed unprecedented wealth, and established Mali as the dominant power in the region. But as quickly as it rose, the empire began to crumble. With the gold trade in ruins and discontent brewing among the people, rebellions erupted across the kingdom. Mansa's vast territory, once held together by his military might, disintegrated into warring factions. And as the empire crumbled, so did Mansa's fortune. Rebel leaders seized gold mines and trade routes, cutting off the very source of the wealth that had made him a legend. The once mighty Mansa found himself trapped in a crumbling palace with dwindling gold reserves. His dream of immortality lay shattered around him like broken mirrors, reflecting a past glory that would never return. In the end, Mansa's story is a cautionary tale of what happens when the insatiable lust for wealth and power knows no bounds. He became the richest man in history, but his wealth came at a terrible cost, leaving behind a legacy of economic ruin and social upheaval that would reverberate for generations. As we reflect on his life, let us remember that true wealth lies not in the quantity of gold one possesses, but in the prosperity and happiness of the people one is meant to serve. And now it's time to hear from you. What do you think? Could you ever become so rich that you break a nation? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.